let's talk about harmony now. So
Mm.
um, now I the rule of the octave blew my mind when I first discovered it, and actually, could you tell me about Renaissance harmony chord playing? I'm very curious about that. I'm very interested in that link from Renaissance and Baroque, very
Yeah.
much so. So let's talk about harmony now.
Okay. So in the Renaissance period, if we look at polyphony, like for example, Josquin de Pré, then he was thinking contrapuntally. He wasn't thinking this is a sixth chord, this is a 4/3, this is a
Mm,
7. He was thinking contrapuntally. But chords were being created. So chords were being created sort of as a side effect of the
mm,
counterpoint in the polyphony, but they were thinking modally, and they were thinking of how the voices are connected from a contrapuntal point of view.
mm.
Palestrina, who's later than Josquin de Pré, also played the lute, and he seems to have used the lute tablature to write as a score, as a shorthand for writing scores.
Tab.
But it still wasn't a real harmonic concept.
Okay.
You don't have a real harmonic concept till the late 16th century, even though there's overlap. But I can't
Interesting.
even say that because you have ground bases. For example, Ortiz,
Hmm.
1553. I'm going to pull out my lute now.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So you have this transition from modal music to harmonic music, but it's a long transitional phase. So you have Ortiz giving you his suggestions for, let's say, modal improvisation, but then he'll be giving you bass patterns like which is pure harmony. But they weren't conceiving it. They weren't talking much about harmony in the 16th century. They were very still much in the modal idea. And so
Didn't they strum though? Didn't they strum alphabeto and that sort of thing?
alphabeto developed in the 17th century, as far as I know. But they were strumming because you have the like Renaissance guitar, four-course guitar. They were strumming. So I think, this is my own personal opinion, and other early music specialists might get angry at me for saying it, but I think that they played very harmonically in the 16th century. They had the artistic music was polyphony, their theoretic concept was polyphony, but they were playing very harmonic music. And they just weren't really like calling it that. And it took until the late 16th century before they really started calling it harmony. So there's this transitional period, because if you play counterpoint, that's, for example, a piece by Francesco da Milano. I mean, that's a C major chord, right? And this, that's a G major chord. Seventh. But they weren't conceiving it in that way. So basically, there was this transition, and even in the 17th century, they were still talking about modes. But then Caccini would write a G, and to play a G major chord, and then he'd write a B, and maybe add a sixth, and that it's a sixth chord. But they weren't thinking in inversions yet. If your listening audience knows what inversions are. So in modern theory, that's a G major chord. That's a G major chord in first inversion because it has a B in the bass. But they weren't thinking like that yet. They were thinking that's a G major chord, and then we have a B with a third and a sixth above it. So they were thinking intervallically. And it wasn't until Rameau in the 1730s that we have a clear theoretical presentation of inversion theory. That came super late. We're thinking of intervals. So 4, 3, and then a major chord. Or if you have a sixth chord and then a sharp six, if you're going by inversion theory, that's really complicated. But if you just say it's a normal six and a flat six, which is
that's what it is. That's all it is.